Hey all. Let's see here if I can find the meeting notes.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Let's see. I'm not seeing agenda for today.
I did have a question.
Sure.
Um, so I've got like a fork of the operator that's going, and there's a bunch of bugs that actually I need to upstream. Um, uh, is there someone that I should mention on them, or is it just sort of push the PRs up and then drop them in the Slack?
Yeah, if you could just mention me in your PRs, I can definitely take a look. And yeah, these bug fixes are definitely appreciated. So yeah, if you could just upstream them, that'd be great.
One of the other things that I was contemplating doing was making the reconciler actually configurable. Um, not it doesn't seem like a huge amount of work, but uh, one or a couple of the experiments that we have going is I think other people at Salesforce have talked about before is replacing the reconciler with like a Go based version. Um, we've kind of abandoned that for something that runs as a we just basically took Spark and put it into a JVM. Uh, take the Kubernetes resource manager and just run it as an endpoint.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the current experiment. But the Go stuff kind of we uh we kept having to sort of chase down the Spark or sorry the Scala implementation for bugs. It was getting kind of tedious.
I see, I see. Yeah, yeah. If you have like any, um, features that you want us to implement, yeah, we can definitely, take a look and everything. So yeah, please do let us know. Are you like working with Ganga on Node, or is that different team?
So he used to be on my team. I'm
Hmm.
on the Salesforce Spark team. He's moved to another part of the organization.
Oh, I see, I
So
see. Okay,
I did take a look at what he presented and what's sort of on the public or on GitHub. Um, it's uh, it's nothing like what we actually ended up going with. So
I see. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, you're not out of sync here. Okay, yeah, definitely do let us know. And I would definitely be interested in what you're doing as well. So like if you're, interested in like, the presentation or like, some community goal thing kind of things, that would be great too. All right. Let's see. So we did release the um Spark Operator 2.5 yesterday, and it has a bunch of fixes in it as well. There are like some OM issue. There's some issues with the Helm charts and everything. So yeah, if you got time, please do try it out. If you find any bugs, we are you know definitely willing to fix them as well. So yeah, try them out and let us know. Let's see.
does Kubeflow have an AI policy?
As far as I know, I don't think
Actually,
so.
we
AI.
do. We are creating one. There's a PR that's about to be merged. I'm Francisco. I'm part of the Kubeflow steering committee. Um, and let me ping you to it. It is, we're aligning on it right here. We've been crushed under GSOC. And so we were kind of dragging our feet on it, but now is we're officially adding it to the website. And so there's some revisions that we're doing, but it's approximately going to be this, right? Where, um, you know, Yeah, it's pretty short.
Yeah. The reason that I asked was like the Apache project, for example. They want to. Is it the Apache project? There's some other project that they want co-authored by whatever
Yeah.
agent you're using.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I don't think we're that strict about it on the communication. Yeah, quality would notice some. Yeah, DCO
Yeah,
disclosure.
don't
Um,
use don't submit shitty code.
yeah, I mean that's requirement zero. It used to be harder to do that, but now, um,
But yeah, it does. Sorry, I hadn't read the whole thing. There is a disclosure thing in the PR. So
yeah,
okay,
yeah, they do ask for the include a note in the PR description. Yeah, or in the commit message. Um, yeah,
Yeah. I did also notice that we have a lot of, AI generated PRs coming in, and it's actually becoming quite difficult for me to keep up with these PRs.
yeah,
And some of them look like they are legitimate, but if you look into it, it's really not, and it becomes
yeah,
such a huge overhead for me. So yeah,
yeah.
you know,
So I mean, hopefully, I'm Francisco. I'm from Red Hat. And Rashab and Ali are here at Vedant as well. We're hoping to help out and engage more with the community. And so, if you want us to kind of run a first line of defense or anything, or to help share the load, yeah, please let us know. We're happy to help.
okay, awesome. But yeah, for now, I've been just resorted to just, if you want for me to review the PR, ping me on Slack and I'll do it. But otherwise,
Yeah.
just opening up
Yeah,
a
are
PR
we
scan.
using Copilot on the Spark operator upstream?
Um, yeah, sometimes, yeah, there are like, you can request
It
reviews from
doesn't
Copilot.
do it by default though. I know CodeRabbit is being done by pipelines. Um, and in Feast, I'm maintaining for Feast. That one I use Devon, and actually Devon's pretty good.
Really?
Um, yeah, I really really like it a lot. Between Claude, Devon, and Codex now, I can squint less. But there's still some chaos within it. But um, yeah, it's actually one of the better ones that I found.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I just have to experiment more.
Yeah, I think one of the headaches is that we have to handle it with the CNCF to get these things added, and there's
Yeah.
just coordination involved. But
Yeah.
yeah,
as far as the Claude agent, or well, actually Claude codecs or pretty much anything, but Claude ship's like a PR review one. And so
yeah,
if you find one where they're just someone's being an obnoxious dick, um, uh, you can just sort of feed that at it, and what I've done recently is I just told it to use the GitHub CLI to add comments in.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, if anybody submits something that's like, here's a 13,000 line PR and 12,000 lines of them are tests that are all in one file, then I would I've had that happen inside the company, and I've just told people no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And in
I
one of
get
the
that.
GSOC projects is the doc agent, and it's a bad time, man. It's a real bad
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
I was
I
surprised
get
how shitty the GSOC applications were before AI.
I know, yeah. At
Way
least then it was like
before.
you could read the spec and be like, all right, yeah, there's a lot of typos there. Now everyone has like a perfect spec, and it's just like, oh,
That's the summer of code, right?
yeah, the
Yeah.
summer code, yeah. And we did this doc agent project last year, and and it was before Claude Code, and people were using GitHub Copilot, and so things were a lot more controlled, and now it's sheer chaos. And because it's a simpler project, it's not a work. You can do a lot of work locally for that one, and so it's just a bad time. Anyways, sorry, don't mean to derail.
Let's see, what else can we talk about? Oh, anyone here using Apache Carbon by any chance? on EKS?
Celeborn?
Yeah, Caliborn, yeah. It's the remote shuffling service for Flink and Spark.
We started looking at it, but we put it on the back burner.
Yeah,
Um, someone else in sales, Karupia actually, um, worked on a S3 based shuffle. Um,
I think he presented last time. I think it was something about um just having a built-in way to do it within the Spark code itself, right? You just stream data from executors and then just directly into object store.
yeah,
If I remember right. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that approach looked really good, but was it actually accepted? Let's see.
the Karupia is on you can talk about
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
it's not an open source yet, so that there were some concerns around the SPIP. So I'm trying to make it pluggable. Uh, I mean, I'll provide an update once I have something without having to make any Spark code change, and we are able to just plug in and start using it.
Okay. Yeah. Please do let us know because I am definitely interested. I've been trying to make Caliburn use S3 and the performance is quite bad, especially just with the general bucket or general purpose bucket. So I've been trying to use the S3 Express one zone, and that which is really meant to be used for the this kind of workloads, and I just can't get it to work. Um, I think it needs to be a lot of code change within Caliburn to work. So yeah, if there are easier way to do it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I'll provide an update once I have something.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so yeah, on that note, I am also running some benchmarks on Caliburn. Um, I did it on 3 TB before, and I did publish the results, but now I'm doing with 10 TB, and the results are very interesting. You can actually gain a lot performance from Caliburn. It's like the bigger your shuffle data is, better the Caliburn is really going to start to scale. So it's something that if you're interested in, I'll probably be publishing that data soon. Um,
Yeah, do you plan to publish this on that? I mean, on the portal on the website that you have for benchmarks.
yep, it's gonna be data on EKS. Let me just drop that on. Just this guy.
Yeah, I would be interested to see the numbers. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting for customers and everyone as well. It's it's definitely one of the things that are very expensive to run. So I'm just trying to be as effective as I can, so that my manager don't get mad at me. But so far, it's definitely pushing that limit there. So yeah, but once everything's done, I'll update it and so that everyone has a good idea of how to use Carbon. Let's see. Oh, one more question I kind of wanted to ask is, anyone looking into using like Spark Rapids or any GPU accelerated workloads?
Actually, yeah, we are Red Hat.
Oh, nice. Are you just actually using GPU, NVIDIA's plugin, or?
No, we aren't yet. We're looking to we have one team that works with the trainer that is looking to do so, and the feature store team from Feast. And so like the Feast Rapids is the thing that we're going to look at.
Nice.
And I think our folks here are probably going to look into it in time.
Yeah.
Because what we're doing is an exercise. We built the demo using Dockling for RAG, and Dockling does OCR and with a bunch of local VLMs, and so naturally speeding it up with GPUs is a rational thing.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I don't know if you guys saw the GTC keynote, but the
Yeah.
Pinterest was able to save like 80% using the, GPU instances. And that actually does corresponds well with like our own benchmark as well. If you look at the 1 terabyte benchmarks we run, cost savings massive. You can save like 80% just because of the efficiency gain you're
Wow.
getting. So yeah, it's yeah, if you're like interested, it's definitely one of these things that you might want to take a look at. I know GPU instances are kind of difficult to come by nowadays, but if you can get like a reservation for somehow, yeah, it's a good way to go.
We had someone apparently look at it last year. In a very hand wavy document, they said a 10 times improvement.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I think so. The efficiency goes up, and it's like overall execution time can be faster, depending on queries. But it really depends on your query type. Oh, and then now, apparently they are trying to add, integration between Velox, as well. So Velox Rapid GPU, yeah, that would be actually quite a nice killer feature there. So just something to keep in mind going forward. Let's see. I think that's all I wanted to talk about today. Anyone have any other topic wanted to talk about?
Yeah, there was one question I had for you all. We were going to pay some special attention to those customized manifests over the next couple of weeks, and we were wondering once they reach parity with the Helm charts, if you guys would be willing to cut like a point release for 2.5
Yeah,
or
of course.
something like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually a huge fan of Customize over Helm. So, if we can improve Customize, I would love to see it.
Awesome.
All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we call it?
Yeah, sorry, I just joined late. I just was wondering if I get the chance to talk about Vlog's benchmarks that we didn't get a chance to talk 2 weeks ago. Oh, actually, gluten, right? The gluten one we've been talking
Gluten
about.
Velox?
Yeah. Did we? I know, like, whenever you were planning to share some benchmarks before, but we just didn't get a chance, right, 2 weeks ago to talk about them.
Um, let's see. You're talking about, let's see, hold on, let me share my screen. Just gotta make sure I don't share things I don't want to share. Right. So, this is the benchmark page we have on Data.onic. You can see that we have a whole bunch of different benchmarks here. I think last time we talked about the Data Fusion Comet benchmarks. But there's another accelerator that's called Velox that you can use with gluten. Um, you know, as with the with Data Fusion Comet, it uses the execution. So it doesn't use the JVM-based execution engine. It uses C++, and the performance gain you can get from that is quite significant. Overall, we see that about like 1.7 times overall performance gain, and because of the execution time reduced compared to the native Spark, the cost saving is quite big. And again, this really depends on the query type. If you look at the query type distributions, there are ones that are actually performable, but then there are like ones that did not. So like you probably need to look at your jobs and test it out before implementing everything for your production workloads. So like you can see, top performing and worst performance ones here. Some of the shuffle heavy ones, I think Q23 and Q50, these guys has some problems or sort of largest decrease or improvements here. Um, and let's see. And yeah, here's all the configurations that you can use. Yeah, sorry, Eric, I'm definitely not prepared to do this.
Yeah, it's fine. We
Let's
can definitely
see.
talk about it later, but I think just a high level question, compare this to the data fusion. Do you see kind of like, much differences in a different type of the Spark jobs? Which really depends on the configuration you're gonna run.
So as in like which type of workloads I would use for the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, like the
Um,
compared to data fusion. I remember like when talking about data fusion before, we've been struggling to configure, to stop the configuration right appropriately, right? And
yeah, yeah. So honestly, I haven't done any analysis on that
mhm.
yet.
Okay.
Um, it could probably good to have like a actual comparison between Velox and Comet benchmark results.
Hmm.
We just haven't gotten the time to do it yet. But yeah, that'll be probably a very good thing to do. But yeah, the great thing about these two engines is that for the most part, you don't really have to make a change, code changes. Most of that is taken care of by configuration changes only. So like, if you have
Hmm.
existing, SQL plans or SQL queries, then you can just use it as it is. And
Yeah, I think that's
let's
great.
see.
Do we have a working example here in the in this AWS docs?
Working example as in like how to
Like,
run it.
yeah, like how to configure the Spark configuration, right? To yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's
so
here, right? Okay.
yeah, it's here. Also, if you look at the GitHub repository, we also have them available in the Spark site and yeah, benchmarks. Yeah, so I'll just copy this here, paste it in just in case anyone's interested. If I can find the chat window. Hold on. Here you go. Yeah, so this folder contains all the configurations that we use for benchmarks. So like if you are looking at, derivation commits, you can see that, templates here, commit templates here, and all that stuff. But let's see, what else do we want to talk about? Yeah, these are just talking about just building, actually running this.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think making them more visible from the Spark operator might be useful. Yeah, like I don't know, like if folks here on the call where like you want to use you actually some of you using the those accelerators for Spark jobs because the users that I was talking with they mostly on the comment side. I don't know much people who use actually Velox in production yet, but I know there are some other improvements as you mentioned, Manabu, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Compared to comment.
yeah.
Um,
But yeah, Comet does look like I mean, Comet's like much easier to configure, honestly, because all you have to do is just drop a jar file, and then that's all you have to do. Whereas Velox, I think you actually have to include all these runtimes and everything, so it becomes a little, more challenging to configure. So yeah, personally, from configuration side of things, yeah, Comet is much easier. And most of these Comet's, performance regressions is coming from the fact that it doesn't support the I forgot the name of that. The dynamic partition pruning. This is not supported
mhm.
in the commit yet. So this is huge. That way you're not reading all the packets or the columns and rows that you need. So yeah, once it's implemented, I think we just have to run one more time with benchmarks, and I'd expect to see a significant increase in performance. Let's see. Yeah, any questions on this I can answer?
Uh, I did notice that with some of these things, there's a mention of excessive DNS volume.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
did you try reducing the ndots parameter? Or the other thing is using fully qualified domain names by putting like a dot at the end whenever it's trying to do
Yeah,
a DNS look.
yeah, I tried that. Just making sure it's actually FQDN, right?
Yeah.
And it still spams the
Oh,
core DNS. So I looked through the code and looks like it coming from the where it attempts to get the region or the bucket endpoint. When you're trying to figure that out, then so it's in Rust code. So I don't think it's honestly, I don't know too much about how Rust works, but it doesn't, it, at least to me, it didn't look like it was taking advantage of the caching in JVM. So it's probably where it's coming from. So I just ended up, using the local cache, DNS cache, and then that essentially solved the load issue on a Discord DNS. So, all right. Any other questions I can answer? Okay. Let's see. That's actually one more thing I kind of wanted to ask. What was that? Let me just check my notes. Oh, the agents. So the Spark History Server agents. So I am thinking about opening up this little project that I've been working on. It's just a essentially a CLI for interacting with the Spark History Server. It's just going to allow you to get all the information out of it and be able to compare and everything. It's mostly done. I know there's one that just came out as I was working on it. So, but if anyone's interested in using it, you can definitely do that. It just makes it easier for agents to get the information it needs. There's like a whole bunch of discussions going around using MCP versus CLI, and for Spark workloads, or when you're using Spark, I think it makes sense to use CLI over MCP, just because of the context overhead when you're using MCP. So it's something that if you're interested, I can share later. But that's about it from my side. Did you have anything you want to talk about, Andre?
I actually have a quick question on this. I know you have a conversation with Demon, right? In Slack around
Oh, yeah,
CLI.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is great. Do you have any interest to maybe have this as a sub project under MCP repo? Maybe we can, rename it to something like Spark Intelligence, or I don't know. We can think on this. Um, and so this is the first question actually. Do you have any like interest to push this to the upstream so other folks can also play with it?
Yeah, that's what I was hoping to do. So what I was thinking was put it under
Hmm.
skills folder and then just
Yeah,
call it
makes sense.
CLI or something like that, right? I think that's how Google does it. But yeah, that was my thought. But I wasn't sure how people are open to that or not. So yeah, if you're okay, or everyone's okay with the renaming the repository to something else, then
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, we can definitely start with skills. Because we have a kind of similar conversation what we try to do with broader kind of Kubeflow MCP server. And I know like right now folks try to use CLI to reduce the context, but there are still a value of MCP to exist. So
Mhm.
I still see the value for both of those tools to be there.
Yep.
Yeah, but starting this, as a subfolder is fine, definitely.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and also like
At some point we
yeah,
should.
good.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. At some point we should definitely consolidate under Kubeflow. That way, we have a central place.
Yeah, I kind of like, yes, I think definitely. So from my understanding, the right now your tools are focusing on history server. So you kind of like expose the kind of set of tools to interact with the history server, right? To, help with debugging, etc. But again, like since we already have Spark Connect support, we also going to probably build some sort of, I would say, not observability, but MLOps tools, right? Like when maybe folks want to submit Spark Connects, CRs, or maybe submit Spark application CRs, and we can automate this via like natural language processing. But at the end, yes, I agree with you that consolidating this to the single CLI or set of skills or MCP server, I think this is what we should do. Um, yeah, I think the question would be how to decompose this, right? Like because we
Yeah,
still don't want to lose this composability, right, of multiple things.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's fine to just start with skills folder, and then as we
Yeah,
go, implement more and more, you can start
I
thinking
was,
about
yeah, yeah,
composing
yeah,
them.
yeah. I kind of like, I think we should definitely have a some sort of Kubeflow set of skills or Kubeflow registry where we can, like, we can register this via plugins and
Yeah,
cloud support plugins, right, or other agents. And then, we can, that is why, again, we eventually want to build this intelligence around all those things we do. And then, folks can install this as part of their, local CLI or, in production environment.
yeah, I like the idea.
I think again another question around skills. So this topic around CLI versus MCP, have you tried to use skills to kind of minimize context or minimize set of tools you expose to the agent? Um, I was trying
Yeah,
to understand, like, yeah, have you explored different, ways how folks leveraging MCP versus CLI and, port those tools to the agent?
yeah.
Um,
So like a lot of the things, like at least for like Spark related works, I
mhm.
find that a lot of things, like a lot of tools calls, definition of that don't need to be, shoved into context every time, because of the nature of how you investigate Spark jobs, right? So typically you go through like, get the application, get the, SQL query plans, all that stuff. And then, you go, if there's something issue with it, and then you go through branch out and do things like, so you don't need to have all the you know, yeah, all the tools available in the context. So to me, it makes a lot of sense to use CLI. Um, but yeah, also I was working on this, Spark upgrade agent as well, and for that,
Yeah.
it made a lot of sense to just use CLI. So
Yeah,
We
I
have
mean,
a
yeah. Go first, please.
sorry, we have an experiment or project or whatever that we just open source. It's called MCP Plus, but general idea is like whenever you get in, you feed it off. Actually, you go ask another model to summarize it, and you use that to keep the information, uh, like the information in your context, like shrunk down. But the other thing that I've done was just ask, using the harness, just ask it to, if it has parallel capabilities, ask it to use the parallel agents to do the summaries. And then depending on other things, I'll also tell it to spool the data into files.
I see.
Um,
Is it is it different from like the Cloudflare's MCP search? I think that's what it's called.
uh, that uses a bunch of other stuff, but that's the same idea, I
Okay,
think.
okay.
There's another project that I forgot the name of it, but uh it 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 essentially acts as like a complete interface, and it'll take your entire like everything and spool it into like a local database, and then it adds search tools. So the model doesn't need to necessarily keep anything, and then you just use resource references to fetch as needed.
Oh, I see. So it's like searching for tools. Is that right?
It like the way that that particular one is structured is like everything goes through all requests and responses go through the MCP, and then the model actually just like whatever it is, the model takes it out of the context, and if it ever needs the information again, it fetches just either symbolic representations or just like enough of the information that it needs.
I see.
Um,
So I guess as an alternative to this, you can leveraging skills to just summarize the context from MCP, right? Because instead of your agent directly connect to the MCP server, you can say you have this skill, and the skill can interact with set of MCP tools which kind of like tell what agent needs to do to interact with those tools. Like
But you
like
still,
yeah, good.
sorry, you still need the skill to,
Yeah.
like the skill itself would still need some sort of utility to do the compaction, or you need,
Yeah.
or the skill would have to be sufficiently verbose enough so that the model knows how to produce the information itself.
Yeah, yeah. Like what I want to say, for example, like if you have an MCP server which exposes, I don't know, like 100 skills, 100 tools,
Yeah,
and like you know that a particular agent only needs to access to 10. And like instead of you know, exposing the entire MCP server to this agent, you can basically register like 10 skills, which
yeah,
tells like which tools agent can use, right? But these tools will be still under the same MCP server. And you can also explain how those, you know, output from those tools can be processed by the agent. Um, I think this is basically what CLI integration via skills is doing, right? Because skills.md just explaining how to use the specific CLI commands, right?
yeah.
Um,
I kind of marry like all three
mhm,
things. Um,
mhm.
but to reduce the number of tools, there's like where things would have been a tool, I now make it a parameter.
Okay.
And it sometimes adds to more MCP calls or tool calls because the models will hallucinate what the parameters are. But it instead of having, I've got some like text searching MCP experiment, and instead of having like for every single kind of document type that there's a different tool for it. There's just one search with you know, a type. But the naive implementation I made earlier had like an XML search, a JSON search, a blah blah blah. Just I looked at the tool output and I'm like, no. So,
Yep.
but yeah, I need to take that and then combine that with the skill that gives it enough information, and then
Yeah, the thing is like I'm not really like know right now if this is only Anthropic models recognize available tools within skills.md or it's the common practice. Because I know skills is specific has a specific instruction which kind of tells what available tools you have, and those tools could be, you know, CLI or MCP or, you know, bash, you know, even like, you know, some simple commands,
Mhm.
right? So I don't know like if this is common practice across all the agents. Um,
Yeah, the
like,
thing that we do for our internal developer tooling is
mm,
we have a profile skill, and then it just there's a long list of like, what are you trying to do right now? And then it'll reconfigure that MCP. You have to restart your session, but or reload the tools if you can, but um that that's how we keep that like in check.
yeah, makes sense, makes sense. But I think I would love definitely to learn more on this, and especially on the context of, yeah, you know, if you go towards CLI, where we want to deploy this autonomously, you know, like as a microservice, can still agent interact with the CLI without, you know, because the beauty of MCP, right, you can deploy this as a microservice, right? And you can expose set of REST APIs or set of tools to your host application. So I'm not sure about how this architecture will work with the CLI integration. Um, if that makes sense. Um, but anyway,
Yeah,
we can, yeah, good.
yeah, this like the CLI versus an MCP for that particular case would just be the sandboxing.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so if you are using, you should be using sandboxing, but then you need to make sure that that uh, your runner can, or your harness can actually like reach it and then talk out
Mm-hmm.
over the network, whereas
Mm-hmm.
the harness might have native capabilities that deals with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, but I guess like, you know, in CLI case, like you kind of all of your host applications have to install it, right? And have to have the CLI be available, right?
that's
Um,
usually part of the profile though,
yeah, 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 yeah.
or
I
the
see, I
sorry, the
see.
skill. It's like go install the thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. And like, but all the auth you kind of like solving on the CLI directly, right? Like how it can be authenticated, the Spark history server, etc. Um, okay. Anyway, I mean, like, I would love to learn more on this, like, Manabu, if you get the chance to maybe after KubeCon or after some time to present it, because I think it's really interesting, uh,
Yeah, for sure.
how we can reuse it.
Uh,
All right.
Yeah, I wish I could join the KubeCon, but yeah, it's a little too much travel for me lately. So yeah, hope you guys have a great KubeCon.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Great discussion. Yeah, speak to you soon.
See you all.